Welcome back to Never Ask with me, John Martin, and we have just seen on our countdown of 200 railway landmarks, Mallard setting the speed record for steam locomotives, which currently it still holds. Let's see what is in store for us in the next 20 landmarks. September 1938, and Meccano launched its Hornby 00 series, the first models to use the 00 gauge, which became the most popular in the UK. 26th of the 2nd, 1939, LMS Coronation Class 6234, Duchess of Abercorn, hauled 20 coaches over the summits of Shap and Beatock. The attached dynamometer car recorded the locomotive at maxing out at 2,501 draw horsepower, a record for British steam. Calculations show that at the cylinders, the engine was making between 32 and 3,300 horsepower. This effort needed 2 firemen. 3rd of the 3rd, 1943. The Bethnal Green disaster. Deep-level tube lines were being successfully used as shelters during the Blitz, especially the Central Line extension, where tunnels had been built under heavily bombed East End, but trains weren't running yet. Mass panic at 8:13 p.m. Air raid sirens saw a crush getting into the station, with 174 people, including over 60 children, dying. Early reports said the station had been hit by a bomb, but there was no air raid that night. No bombs were dropped, and the authorities covered up the real cause for decades after the war. 1st to the 4th, 1945, a first run of 120 English electric-powered diesel shunters were built by the LMS. In British Rail days, these became the British Rail Class 11. Their success led to the 996-strong fleet of 08 shunters and 30 or so 09s, many of which are still in service today. 12th for the 5th, 1945, the 3 railway engines. The first of the Railway Story series by Reverend Audrey was published, with Thomas arriving the following year. The 13th of the 11th, 1945, was the London premiere of the film Brief Encounter, based on a Noel Coward story about 2 strangers who meet at a train station. Carnforth in Lancashire was used as a fictional Mitford station. 18th of the 12th, 1947, LMS Locomotive 10,000, the first mainline diesel locomotive, was presented to the public at Euston Station. At 1,600 horsepower, this locomotive and its twin were in use on the network for the next 15 years. We reach 1948, and the railways are nationalised into British Railways, specifically the big 4 companies and their jointly owned companies. So the London Underground, Glasgow Metro and Liverpool Overhead Railway stayed independent. Start of 1949 saw the formation of the British Transport Police. 1st of the 11th, 1949, the 2 4-car 4DD double-deckers designed by Oliver Bullard units entered the service between London, Charing Cross and Dartford. The double-deckers were an attempt to increase capacity on the route. However, limited in size by the loading gauge, these trains were very cramped and with bad ventilation, and it was found that the station dwell times also increased due to getting twice the amount of passengers through the same amount of doors. Also, there were a lot of passenger accidents as these trains had a lack of footboards. These units were withdrawn in 1971. 2nd of the 11th, 1950. This was the final run of the Bullard Leader steam locomotive. This was an attempt to revolutionise steam traction. The result was an ugly, overweight locomotive that looked like a tube train on monster truck wheels and failed to meet its promises. It cooked the firemen and was a danger to work. Only one was built, which was more than enough, and now I'm disappointed that I have to put a picture of it here. 1951 saw the British Railways Mark I coach come into service, taking the best features from existing passenger coaches and mounting them on a strong chassis. The Mark I's were a massive step forward in terms of crashworthiness and attributed to saving countless lives. Also, 1951, the British Rail 7MT Britannia locomotive was completed. The British Rail standards were classes of steam locomotives defined around commonality of parts and ease of use. They were envisioned to be the backbone of British locomotive power until the 1980s, when electrification would be complete across the country. Most had working lives between 7 and 17 years. 8th of the 10th, 1952, the Harrow and Wilton crash, where an express train failed to stop at 3 signals, crashed into a passenger train, and the wreckage was hit by another express train, with 112 people killed. This remains the worst peacetime disaster on the UK railways. The aftermath saw the acceleration of automatic warning systems in cabs that were triggered by passing red signals. 5th of the 3rd, 1953, was the London debut of the Titchfield Thunderbolt, about a group of villagers trying to run their local branch line after it had been closed by British Railways. The filming was done on the recently closed Camberton branch. Starring as the Titchfield Thunderbolt was the Liverpool and Manchester Railways Lion, well over 100 years old at the time of filming. This film, about railway cuts, took place well before the Beeching era. 4th of the 1st, 1954, the new Portishead station was opened, a new modern station, replacing the previous one which was further away from the village. 10.5 years later, the station and the line were closed until the Beeching cuts. 1st of the 12th, 1954, with the release of the modernisation and re-equipment of British Railways. This plan envisioned a massive spend, borrowed at commercial rates, to introduce a new fleet of diesel and electric traction to replace steam, to build massive marshalling yards to improve freight, and rebuild many stations. The station rebuilds saw much loved architecture replaced by bland concrete. Many diesels purchased were unreliable, and improvements to freight failed to tackle the rules that put rail at a disadvantage to road haulage, and the interest payments were huge. 1st of the 6th, 1955, and the car sleeper limited service was launched by British Rail from London to Perth. This grew into the motor rail network, hubbed at Kensington Olympia. As car comfort and reliability improved and privatisation loomed, the motor rail services were cut back, stopping in May 1995, aside from a 4-year attempt by First Great Western. 30th of the 12th, 1956, the Liverpool Overhead Railway closed. The iron structure was corroded from sitting above a steam-powered dock railway, and there was no money available to fix it. 1959 saw the release of the stop-motion, Oliver Postgate created Ivor the Engine TV show about a small steam locomotive that lived in the top left-hand corner of Wales. There we are, we've reached 140 on our way to 200 landmarks. What things should I have included? What things shouldn't I have included? Please comment down below. Please like and subscribe. Remember to ring that bell to be notified of our next upload, which should be very close as we've got to hit 160 by tomorrow. See you next time for another episode of Never Don't Ask.